everybody, Tim Jordan here, and we've got another Oracle's video for you talking about Amazon's A9 algorithm. Now, there's been a lot of myths and fables and legends about this mysterious algorithm that Amazon has. Supposedly, we're on version 9, so A9. And the algorithm is something that you need to understand to figure out how to sell products, because that algorithm is what basically classifies relevancy for a keyword in your product. So you're trying to tell Amazon constantly, my product should show up for these keywords. And when people type in those keywords, you want your product to show up. So the entire process of figuring out how the algorithm works and figuring out how to work with the algorithm with your listings and your products is key to success on Amazon, but it's very difficult and it's very complex. We've got Danny McMillan. He's coming to us from the UK. He's one of the guys that has spent probably the most time of anybody I know researching this algorithm, reading white papers, figuring out exactly how Amazon thinks so that we know how to help it. So Danny's, typically doesn't share this type of content. I begged him to share a snippet of some of his stuff that he usually shares at like high-level conferences and in person. So I think this is the first time we've captured some of this on video, and we are super excited. Danny, thank you so much for being here. We'll let you take it away.
Hi there, my name is Danny McMillan. Today I'm going to be talking about A9. My point of view with A9 and how I work is to work from the science literature and the official videos that have been done by the guys on the A9 team. So today I look to dispel some of the myths, give you an overview of A9, how the various different components break down, and how it would benefit you from understanding the integral parts of A9 to benefit your Amazon business. Okay, so let's take a bird's eye view of A9. So when Amazon are feeding the machine, A9 has to sort billions of searches based on a number of data sets which need to be sorted into a ranking format which is hyper relevant for the end user. So what they're doing here, they're processing through data points on billions of purchases via end user interactions on the platform. So just to take a little bit of a step back, we get into entering the matrix a little bit here. We're going to be talking about gradient boosted trees. So gradient boosted decision trees effectively are a machine learning technique for optimizing the predictive value of a model through successive steps in the learning process. With pairwise, effectively what they're doing here, they're putting this together and then they're assigning the weights for the rank. In order to get there, it's a very complex process that is impossible to get right all the time, as there's so much context to what is relevant versus what is not. Machine learning, whilst getting better, does not have all the capacity of the human brain. So in some cases, human intervention is required. So this is a quote from the A9 team. For training the ranking models, we use labels based on customer actions, such as purchases, add to basket, or clicks. So in the part of this process, they have a thing called feature selection. So what happens is they'll start with 150 features per category. So let's call these features number 1 to 150. Here you got each ASIN is assigned of a list of 150 values. So an example might be number 1 is price, 2 is equal to review counts, and 3 is equal to stars. Some of these are randomized. A random feature will simply be a random number, might even be text. Example is 150 is equal to random, and so each ASIN gets assigned a random number for that feature. This is so that the algorithm can look at the predictive value of those random features and then ignore all the other features whose predictive value is equal or lower. So I'm going to give you a bit of an extreme example here and you'll understand why. So if we wanted to use a training set as an example for someone's height, you could have number 1 is sex, number 2 is age, number 3 is height of mother, number 4 is height of father. 5 would be the astral sign, and 6 is a random number between 0 and 1. So an example for height, what we would find here is that between 1 and 4 have much more predictive power than 6, whereas 5 would be about the same as 6. From this part onwards, the best performers are then whittled down to approximately 50, then this is then reduced again to 20 for another process of elimination of forward and back selection. Okay, so this is where it gets very interesting and the bits where you can have some takeaways. And this pertains to negative and positive labels. So this is the gateway to what we call micro conversions. So why does the labels matter? Well, with positive and negative labels, if we look at some examples on the positive side, you've got clicked, add to cart, purchased and consumed. Now, the other side, which is negative, which is ignored results. So an example would be the product was shown, but no action was taken. So if the customer is on the results page, picks number 3, then 1 and 2 is a negative vote attribute. It doesn't mean it's bad, it's just it's looking for areas where Amazon are trying to improve things all the time. So positive labels are very important, but also it's what the customer doesn't do in that behavior also will feed the machine more information. So what are the benefits to the seller here? So conversion is on a continuum, which we call microcredits. So time on page, engagement with images, clicks, scrolling, and add to cart are just some of the examples here. So what you're effectively doing here, you have all these are going to count towards your final conversion. So an example, in order to process the order of which a product is ranked against that search term, the algorithm has to compare these to all the other products on that same search. So what we're looking at here is maximizing positive labels is equal to better engagement, which is equal to microcredits, which is equal to better ranking in principle. So effectively, this is the powerhouse that drives everything. So whilst we would say A9 is not as sophisticated as Google, which has been around a long time, there's a lot of sophistication involved here, and it's broken down into separate different components. So what you've got to remember here is outside of quality products that solves the problem, there's a little more importance than visibility. And of course, that starts with search. Yes, conversions are a massive factor, but this is only if you can be found. So now let's see why this is so damn powerful. Because according to Amazon's own data, 70% of Amazon's customers never click past the first page of search results. 35% of Amazon shoppers click on the first product featured on the search page. And then the first 3 items displayed in search results account for 64% of the clicks. 81% of the clicks are on brands on the first page of search results. Now, this is a source from Search Engine Journal that you can go and have a look up. Now, this is a couple of years out of date, but of course, it's going to be pretty close and there will be shifts in between. But you can see the magnitude of organic ranking and the importance on Amazon of being found. Because effectively, anything off page 1 is literally a graveyard for sellers. At the end of the day, this is where you start to make it count by understanding really and truly how A9 works and build that into your optimization plan. So we'll digress a little bit here. Now, if you think with regards to the data that I've just shown you now and over a last period of time, is that Amazon's effectively turned into a pay-to-play platform. Because if you look at the statistics I just offered up there, it makes sense why they're now having lots of PPC ads at the top of the page, pushing the organic results down. And this is why Amazon's PPC platform is probably the 3rd largest behind, of course, Google and Facebook. So again, I can't get into this quite now. We're focused on A9. I don't have time to talk about the correlation between the two with top of search and ranking and stuff, but it's clear there that Amazon are maximizing their revenue. Obviously, they want to make sure that the results that they provide are going to be coherent, but of course, this is why you see sometimes some issues with being indexed on the PPC platform to get impressions on some of your keywords, because it comes back down to the relevance factor again. And of course, where people have bidded very, very high and still can't get anywhere near the ad placement algorithm. So it's just important to understand now that Amazon clearly understands their own data and why we've seen a shift to pay to play on the platform. So in the final part of this presentation, we're going to look at the three main components and break down the product search on Amazon. So the three main components are as follows. We've got the query category score, the hunger score, and we've got the in-category relevance score. Starting with the query category score, this works based on how important the given search query is. Within the calculation, the amount of clicks and purchases are scored, whilst longer queries are based on clicks as less common and harder to compute for statistical significance. So why is this important to understand? Well, when queries are measured and there's a great distance in time between the given searches, it's harder to compute as seasonality will play a role, and the lack of frequent conversion means that it's harder to reach statistical significance. Whereas a search term with 10, 100 or 1,000 conversions on a monthly basis has a pattern for it to optimize from. So next up is the in-category relevance score. So if you've ever wondered why your product does not index for certain search terms in your listings, or you've gone to index for high volume keywords that are related to your product and not managed to get the desired results, then you can understand, because effectively we've got behavioral aspects, we've got the relevance aspect, and we've got the category aspect here. And so this is why you'll see when there's a shift in categories or subcategories, this can propose some problems down the line. So again, a combination of these are used to decide which one appears on the top for the general product search query. So the search relevant team uses a blend of all three of these components. This measures the relevance of each product within the category. This is to decide your position in the search results of a general product search. So let's be honest, how many shoppers versus sellers search by category when you're typing into the search bar? Now this can be a little bit confusing here. This is what's called the hunger score. So think of what we call the honeymoon period in the community. What sellers are referring to is the hunger score. So Amazon has to work out what to do with new listings from a dead start. When we say the honeymoon phase and the ASIN is given special attention, then effectively what I'm going to do here is going to give you some visuals shortly to explain briefly how the hunger score works. But in simplistic terms, the hunger score effectively gets hungrier the longer it is not chosen within the category with a high query category score. So let's take a quick look at this using the search query cat. So as listed here below, what we've got is item name, in-category relevance score, hunger score, and then the rank. So in this case here, P stands for pet products, M for movie, and U for music albums. Now you can see their positioning of rank 1 here is the in-category relevance score. What happens here is initially the hunger score is set to 0 for everyone. So product 1 is the highest in the category relevance score and is chosen as rank 1. Since movies have a higher query category score than the music albums, its hunger increases faster. So if you look down on the page, you can see M1 has a score of 2, and of course it has a ranking of 2, where U1 has 1 in terms of its hunger score. Now this is a bit complicated to really understand, but if you can imagine, Amazon has to find a way to bring out products that are on the platform. So if we've got millions of products on the platform, okay, it's all broken down into those categories, but there are going to be relevant products out there that simply not getting the visibility. And so Amazon's had to work out a way from the dead start of how do we achieve this by floating these ASINs to the top, of which we call the honeymoon period. But effectively, the hunger score is doing this work in order to make this happen. Now, an interesting story from The Joy of Search, which was a presentation in 2016. If you do a search for Joy of Search on YouTube, Daria Sonica, I probably butchered her name there. She's done a presentation there. She used Harry Potter as an example. And was joking as the fact that they had to do manual overrides. One of the earlier books, obviously, as a brand that had obviously kicked off and that's gone into books, TVs, merchandise and everything else. But there was a specific release where the Harry Potter book came out, but no one could actually find it on Amazon. And she joked about the business team reached out to the A9 team to do an override to make an improvement there so that when the shoppers came to the platform, of course, they could then find the product. So A9 still has its flaws in there. They've got to work from the dead start. There's a case of doing overrides when things don't go too well in terms of presenting the correct information. So I hope you found that useful today. It's quite technical in places. I could go on for hours and hours of other areas of the algorithm. There was so much more that can be explored and covered here, but hopefully you enjoyed this. And of course, you can reach out if you have any questions.
All right, folks, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. Whether you're a nerd or not when it comes to this whole ranking algorithmic thing, it doesn't matter. Understanding this stuff is important for everybody. And having someone like Danny that's willing to come in and share this knowledge that he's figured out and spent probably hundreds and hundreds of hours trying to decipher and navigate and then learning how to teach us this stuff. We just appreciate you, Danny. We love you so much for sharing this with us. If you guys don't follow Danny, make sure to check out Seller Sessions, which is his podcast. And if you ever get a chance to go to the UK to check out some of his live events like Seller Sessions Live, make sure to do so. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next Oracles video.